black girl whose native language is Japanese, which is kind of weird, but it's out there. We don't see many of this, but there are people of all ethnicity that born all over the world. And this video will teach us that people are people. Don't matter what you look like, the country that you were born in, or your native tongue that you speak. We should all look at each other as a gift and a blessing from God. Speak of her experience entering American schools and the culture coming to America.
だから外人っていうのは知ってたけど、知ってたのかな？そこまで考える必要もなかった。
Hey everybody, Max here again, and today we have a new guest. And she's not half Japanese, but she has a unique story from being born in Japan, but she's not actually ethnically Japanese at all.
Hey guys, I'm Tiffany Rachel, and I was born in Ibaraki Prefecture. For those who don't know, it's about like 2-hour drive from Tokyo, and すごい農業的なところなんだけど
そう、日本語がまあ
そう
生まれ育ちは茨城だよね。
そう、6年生までずっといたから日本語も英語もどっちも大丈夫。しかも両親もアメリカ人だから。
まあブラックアメリカ人っていい。
そうだね。
まあとりあえず茨城での生活とか Her life from 茨城 to you moved to America, Charlotte, North Carolina. She's also from North Carolina. So, and then she moved back to here, and you're a 大学生, right?
そうでI'm learning Japanese again because when I moved to the States, you know, I kind of lost my Japanese, I guess, you know, because especially in North Carolina, there's not many Asian influence, let alone Japanese. And so, you know, you don't really keep up with Japanese. There's nobody to speak Japanese to. So it's like, the only person I could talk to Japanese to is my brother. But at the time, we like got in a lot of fights. And so,
you
know, it's like, we didn't really speak to each other.
But brotherly, sisterly.
I know, we're too close.
So we wanted to kind of talk about this bicultural, like, nature of your life. But we want to kind of share her experiences as a African American by race, but Japanese by heart. Could you say? Or we'll get deeper into that as we talk. Let's start from the beginning. So you were born in Ibaraki, and I do know, and she also brought some pictures. Like we got from this is from your Ibaraki days. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ibaraki days.
How did this come about? Like your parents moved to Ibaraki from America?
My parents actually first came as missionaries.
Okay.
And so what they did was they taught English through the Bible. So that was kind of their textbook. But then my brother and I were born, and then it just went strictly into teaching English. And I guess my childhood was like with my friends, you know, in school, 日本語で話して、両親とは英語で話すっていうなんかルールっていうか、家の中に入ったら日本語で話しちゃダメっていうルールがちゃんとそうあって。
ルールってなんか家の中になんか
いやいやお父さんが言われただけそうっていうかうちとその兄貴と日本語で話してたらなんかお父さんが上からに Speak English ってなんか注意
上からそう2回
そう2回から注意された時もあったし
strict だったの
何
was 厳しかった
結構厳しかった but also because he was an English teacher there was already that respect like for my dad you know he was my father but also he was you know teacher you know so it was kind of like that both so it was like both like kind of strict you know
so Tiffany はどっちかっていうと家に帰ったらなんかもう日本語で話したかったっていうそれとも
そう日本語の方が自然だったから日本語で話したかったけど
友達も一緒にこう家に来た時はどういう
それは日本語だったね
OK
でももしかしたらその友達が家に一緒に来たらそれが英語を練習できる機会だったからもしかしたら両親がその友達と英語で話して
友達も
そうもう一緒にもしかしたらそうよくは覚えてないけど but most of the time I went to their house I kind of went out でなんでかっていうと when my parents were in Japan you know they taught English so they were and we had like 4 classrooms around Ibaraki one in Mito Kasama our house was a kyoshitsu and
4 classrooms as in
like there's like a classroom in Mito there's a classroom in Kasama, a classroom in you know my house, and then one in Hitachi, kind of like here and there.
So the school was like it wasn't
So sorry. So my parents had a contract. Well, my dad had a contract with the school that I attended, but that contract allowed him to do his own thing as well. So they had their own business of teaching English.
Okay.
So they rented some rooms.
Oh, I see.
My
I
bad.
see. Around the
Area, yeah.
area.
And so they were always out doing things, basically. And I said to say, I wasn't at home often, especially when we were younger, because if we were home alone, you know, we probably had to be babysat.
Yeah.
So I was babysat by this family, actually. This is the mom. So, and then they were my parents' students. And so...
This is the mom.
This is the mom.
You're a babysitter, and this is you.
Yeah, that's me. That's
Is he eating a potato chip? How American is this?
Classic. Yeah, so they were kind of like my second family.
Yeah.
And so... Very, very nice family. And, you know, she always fed me. I would sometimes even knock out. She would give us pajamas. My mom even said I would come home with different pajamas every time. So it's like they just kind of... So just really provided family. And so I would go to people's places most of the time.
And I think you also said it was a small community in this area, right?
Yeah, so I think... I don't know the exact number. But the population, let's give out a number. The population of the area was 2,000 people, let's say.
Okay.
When we moved, we're a family of 4. When we moved, we like broke the zero. It was like 2004. So first of all, we broke the zero.
Okay.
2, foreigners broke the zero. So I just wonder, like looking back, like how their impression of us were.
And this is like back in, I guess, year 2000, 1990, late 90s.
Well, yeah, I was born in 1998, but we moved so many times. So when we moved to that area, I'm sure it was like 2001, 2002.
Yeah, and you said like Cho Inaka no no.
Cho Inaka. Yeah, so it's like, I feel like Ibaraki is probably the most, you know, Nogyo kind of agricultural site. But where I was actually like even more. And it's a place nobody knows. It's called Shirosatomachi in case everybody wants to represent. But so it was so country that there was no supermarket until I was in 4th grade.
Oh, you were telling me.
Yeah, and so what we did was we knew which families grew what. So we would go to their house and, you know, buy rice, buy, you know, fruits and veggies. But it was really good, you know, because it's like the rich soil.
This is like medieval times.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I will give you 1 piece of rice or 1 piece of
really
like a carrot.
But it was, I didn't notice it a few days ago when I was thinking about it.
But that means that they're really, I guess, nice.
Well, yeah, I
like,
guess we just all
everyone
knew
is
each
like
other.
family, right?
Yeah, everybody's like family, and it's
Yeah.
like we knew each other. There was no such thing as me, you know, running into somebody and introducing myself, because I was known as like either the foreigner family or the English teacher's daughter, you know. So that was kind of
like
the
English
situation.
teachers, Tiffany, the English teacher's daughter.
Something like that.
But she speaks Japanese.
Yeah, there was no question about me speaking Japanese. Like they already knew.
Well, did you feel like any difference in? I mean, the treatment. Obviously, they're going to be like, oh, it's the foreign family, but I'm sure it's more like a nice like I don't know.
Yeah, to jump into it, like I've never been discriminated, and so it's like although I knew I was different, it wasn't. You know, first of all, it wasn't important. It was like a non-factor even. But yeah, they didn't really treat me any different. I felt like, you know, I was Japanese. Although I knew by looks, like, I know I'm not, but I know what it is. I didn't really feel connected with my parents at the time. Because, you know, my parents, I knew they were from America, this country, this grand country. And so I already knew they had, like, a certain background. But there was this wall between my parents because I didn't know that much English at the time. So a lot of things that was...
You didn't go back to America either, did you? Like, when you were young, you were just living in Japan.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we visited once every year, but visiting, you know, it's kind of different.
It's the opposite of me. Like, I was born and raised in America, but sometimes we go to Japan and, you know, you kind of know, but you're not really connected.
You're not ingrained into it, so it's a little different.
So there is, like, a little bit of a wall. Like
and it's like, what was on my mind, I couldn't explain it to my parents, so it's like, there's no point in giving it a shot. You know, it's like, something like this happened in school, but I can't really tell my parents because I don't know how to say it in English. Then しかもベビーシッターされてたから it's like I would probably tell my friends' parents, not my parents, you know. And so I think that's really interesting. Like after school, I would go to my friend's parents' house, right? And so anything that happened, I was like, oh, guess what happened today? You know, I had this. So I would tell my friend's parents instead of
なんか普通に
my parents.
普通の日本人生活で自分がまあ日本人
そう
everyone surrounding you 日本人だから
そうだから外人っていうのは知ってたけど知ってたのかな そこまで考える必要もなかったし、
まあそうね、若い時はあんまり深く考えないけど、
そう
自分のことはまあとりあえず両親が
アメリカ人、
まあアメリカ人で自分は自分。
そうそうそう。
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really like that.
You were here until you didn't move to America, right, until the 2011 Tohoku earthquake.
My brother was in 中学2年生 at the time, and kind of thinking about what to do for high school. And my parents wanted to send my brother and I to an English-speaking high school so we can improve our English. I think they were kind of kuroshita with where to send my brother. But I guess, with the earthquake happening, it was like, oh, if we just move to America, obviously they'll go to American, high school. That might be a good idea. So it was that along with other reasons as to why we moved to the States. I mean, it worked. We speak good English now.
Yeah.
So.
What was your English level like back then, you think, at age 10-ish?
I don't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know. But I do know that maybe if you asked me this question then, I'll probably freak out. Because I feel like even now, English is very scripted for me. It's like, especially when you learn English in Japan, for those who, went to shogakko in Japan and speak English, that whatever is spoken to you, it's kind of like a code. Like if somebody asks you, hey, how are you? You respond with, I'm fine, thank you. And you kind of, it's everything is scripted. It's nothing is natural. And so if it was anything outside of that script, it's like, I don't have anything for you, man.
So that's how it was for you.
That's how it was for me,
okay.
Yeah. And I probably knew enough English at the time to ask my mom, hey mom, I'm hungry. Hey dad, is laundry done? Mom, I'm hungry. Kind of things like that.
Your mom just
so it wasn't really like thinking to the next level. So yeah.
Let's jump into your or I guess middle school, right?
So 6年生卒業して中学校からアメリカだったから。
Yeah. So you moved straight to Charlotte, North Carolina. Take us to your first feeling of coming into America.
Like I said before, I visited the States all the time, and we were in that area, kind of Charlotte, where our family was and everything. So from that impression, I was thinking it was just going to be that, but 24/7, which was, you go to IHOP, because, there's not really IHOP experience, especially in Ibaraki. I went to Wet n Wild all the time. I went to
Wet n Wild? You went to Wet n Wild?
Oh, yeah, that was like,
the best.
Yeah. So
I know what you're talking about.
Which is why, coming to America, it's like, oh, this is going to be all fun and games. Oh, it's going to be great. Yeah, It was hard because me being able to communicate with my parents just enough, I thought was enough to, I thought I knew enough English. But then, like, let's say somebody asks you, what's up? You can't tell that person to somebody who's learning English. They're literally going to look up. And that was me. That was the level I was at.
Really?
So I didn't know, like, the cultural side.
At school?
Yeah, at school, or my parents' friends, or even family members.
So you're like...
Yeah. And so, especially with my family members, it was hard because although they knew I was raised in Japan, I don't think they actually knew what that meant. Like they're from the South Side, North Carolina's pretty.
Yeah, they
south.
look at
so,
you. They're like.
Well, they look at me and they
English.
talk to me, and their accents it was hard for me to understand. Because I would say my parents speak not like non-accent, so I'm used to their English. So if you speak outside of that, I'm not gonna know what you're saying. To me, it's just not English. But that was probably hard for me to understand the slang, the accent. And then the culture, because some things, there's a lot of phrases, there's a lot of jokes where it's connected to the culture of America.
Right.
But if you don't understand that, it's like
there's a ton, yeah.
The
amount of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air jokes or like other TV jokes that go around, you just
unless you're there,
Yeah. You went to American middle school or?
It was actually a language school, so it was a language academy. So they had Spanish, French, German, Japanese, and Chinese.
The immersion school, right?
It's the immersion school, yes. School. And so I went in, taking the Japanese class to kind of like fukushu, my Japanese skills. Didn't really help because the level was too low.
And by Japanese class, you mean one class that taught Japanese, or was it?
Yeah, one class that spoke.
Because when I think immersion school, it's like everything is taught in one language.
Let me explain. So it was like a K through, I forgot.
12? K through 12.
Was it until 12? It probably was 12. K through 12 program. From K to 5th grade, it's like just in that everything, you learn math, science, shakai, all in that language. And then from 6th grade, it's like you have like a regular middle school, you have different classes, but then you also have that one class where it teaches you Japanese, like grammar, maybe
whatever you elected.
Yeah. I went in that program. I think thankfully I was there because the Japanese teacher was the only person I could speak Japanese to.
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
like, dude, help me. I'm struggling.
Wait, 日本語で言うと how would you say that?
なんて言うんだろう、なんかね、ちょっとわかんないこといっぱいあるんだけど教えてくれないみたいな。Oh, and it was interesting because so the earthquake happened in March. I moved to America end of March, and I started school April 15th. For some reason, I remember that date.
はいはい。
So, Sunday, it was Spirit Week.
Oh, Spirit Week!
The
Yeah.
first day was Crazy Hair Day. So, I'm over here walking into American school, and I'm just like, I'm thinking this is a norm. Like, I'm seeing teachers with blue spiked hair, yellow mohawk, and I'm just like, how do you
America.
learn? You know, like, I was terrified. And it was crazy. It was interesting because we looked through different schools for us to potentially go to.
Yeah.
I'm like, Mom, Dad, you picked this one like out of all the schools.
Wait, その時はまだ頭の中の回転は日本語だった？
そうだね、最
So
も
were
日
you
本
like,
語だった。
な
そう。
何これ？
そう、何これって思っても、その表現できないし、発言できないから、それ。でも、そう、お兄ちゃんで、何これみたいな。
I'm sure you're like,
ここでまだまだみたいな。これ学校 It was a huge transition, but thankfully, because it was such an international environment, I think I had a better experience there than if I were to go somewhere else.
I mean, it's more diverse than the
Than the
typical,
regular, yeah.
When you first entered, though, you said you were in 6th grade, right? And the classes were taught in English, though. So how did you do?
So in 6th grade, because it was in April, you know, in America, school ends in June.
Yeah, school is almost ending.
Yeah, and so
They must
they
have
let
been like,
me
"Who are you?"
pass. Yeah, they let me pass because I know I didn't. Even if I tried, I probably would have passed it. But it's from 7th grade. I was struggling in English. I was struggling in
English class. Yeah.
Yeah, English
Everyone's
class.
Even I struggle. I hate spelling and all.
it's the grammar is so different. But also the math. Unless it's was it called in English? 文章問題? Like you have a sentence, and you have to like solve it.
I don't know, sentence.
Yeah, sentence problems. Unless it's those, I'm okay. But if it's those, I have to like actually understand the question. It was a problem.
Yeah.
But it was mostly a problem because in Japan, I felt like I've never been challenged before. You know, I was able to speak English because I'm American. I never really struggled in school. Anything I did, I didn't do a bad job basically. And so the first time, I'm in America and it's like I don't understand something, I don't know how to do this, I can't do this right. It just frustrated me,
Mm-hmm.
And probably even more so because I wasn't able to express that. And like to who, I'm not gonna go to my brother, I'm not gonna go to my parents. I don't have any friends, and so that was the hard part. But it's a crazy experience.
Yeah, it is. So what was it like though? I guess I want to talk about your culturally, and like. You look African American, but your main language is Japanese. So you're over here, and then what was it like meeting other Americans that were? I would assume like everyone thinks that you're just American, like everyone else.
Like
but
that was a street or something.
Yeah, but if they start talking to you, like they have, they want to know like, hey, what's Japan like?
Well, also, before we get there, I want to talk about when I introduce myself and I talk, they would call me white, because of the way I speak. I guess I don't speak black, whatever that means. But also because we're in 6th grade, we're all childish. So I guess those names kind of naturally you're called that.
They called you white because you're...
Of the way I speak. But then if they don't ever speak to me, they're just going to think I'm a black girl, whatever.
Yeah. It's funny because it's more like you're a Japanese, Asian.
I guess that goes into like the identity where it's like all of a sudden I'm being questioned all these things. It's like, why is it so important?
So they were like, you speak like a white person.
Yeah, and then even if I said...
And then you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, and even if I would say I'm from Japan, they'd be like, no, you're not. It's like, so how do you get out of that? Like, I don't know enough English to know how to skirt myself out of that situation. It's like, I'm from Japan, like...
Yeah.
And it's like, but you don't look Japanese. And it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of frustrating. And I guess it was the first time that I guess not noticed, but just kind of realized that people lie so often, I guess, that there's a reason to question, to doubt, what I'm saying because of my looks.
Right.
That was, I guess, the hard part. I understand, like when I was living in Japan, because of my looks, I look foreigner. That's fine. But to say I'm lying, like about my character, like how does that connect? I guess it was the first time I realized I hadn't questioned it. And my mom even told me, because I went to summer school for English, because my English was just that bad. And so I went to summer school, and I remember I'm in a classroom full of other foreigners, who